Welcome back to Fox Eyes on the Hill Live this Sunday morning. As we told you at the top of the broadcast today, the manhunt continues in a shocking murder in Minnesota. A lawmaker and her husband were killed in their homes. It shocked the community. It has shocked the nation this morning. The gunman also shot another lawmaker and his wife multiple times. They remain in the hospital. Governor Tim Walz says the killings were politically motivated. We want to bring in our political panel this morning. Good friends of the program here. Tim Parrish is a Republican strategist, and David Goodfriend, Democratic advisor and president of I Street Advocates. Obviously, we've talked a lot at this desk with both of you about the level of rhetoric in our country right now. This is beyond rhetoric. Governor Walz called this a political assassination. What should we take from this moment as far as people stepping back from where their rhetoric is and where their actions are?
Well, after any shooting, we're all sort of at a loss for words. I don't want to hear about thoughts and prayers. I want to hear about like the usual platitudes. We have a sickness in our society, and it's gun violence. It's a sickness. I also don't want to turn this into a kind of policy debate over guns. Those things usually end up being on a circular repeats pattern anyway. I do think this is different because we're starting to feel almost like political violence is normalized, and I feel like that's something that happens in other countries. I'm in the United States of America. Why do I hear about political assassinations and think that's somewhere else? It's not somewhere else. It's here. So we have political violence in the United States, and I think the first step is to just acknowledge that. We're now in the era of political violence in the United States. What do you do about it? Well, I would like to start at the top. I think when you criticize a judge for not ruling your way, and arrest a judge for not doing what you want, or call somebody in the other party something subhuman, you are responsible. You are responsible for that. So I'd like to see rhetoric at the top change, and I think that's a step.
I can remember the night of a presidential address in the wake of Gabby Gifford's shooting. Democrats and Republicans in Congress made a point of pairing up with each other and sitting with each other in a show of solidarity. Is that beyond reach right now? Have we gotten so far down the road that we can't get back to the point where Democrats and Republicans can disagree and fight and hammer it out on policy, but yet come together in a show to the country that that kind of thing that happened just now is not the norm. It's not acceptable. It shouldn't happen.
No, and I don't think we are beyond that, Tom. And I do think we've seen that. We've seen both Republicans and Democrats condemn this. I absolutely agree with my friend here that we've got to bring the temperature down. The rhetoric right now is, you know, people, it's okay to be passionate. It's okay to really get involved in the conversation. But it is. We're starting to normalize political violence. And I've traveled the world extensively throughout my career, and you do see these things in other countries. And when we read these stories and you read the headlines, you think, was that here in the United States of America? It's shocking. And I will say that my thoughts and prayers are legitimately with that community and with those families. Nobody should go through this, but we've got to bring down the temperature around our rhetoric, and we've got to get back to a place where we can disagree without being disagreeable.
Obviously, a lot of focus on the nation's capital yesterday with the parade for the 250th birthday of the United States Army. You know, clearly that's a big thing for the country. We're approaching the 250th birthday of the country. There's been a lot of concerns, though, about the cost of all of this, David. You know, Doge came into town saying that they're going to cut out waste, fraud, and abuse. A lot of people were saying, well, that was wasteful, that we shouldn't have spent that money. It was a moment, though, that did bring some celebration to a country that hasn't really had a lot of celebrations the last 6 months or so. Is there value in that when you watched that parade yesterday, you were told the American story through the story and the journey of the United States Army?
Well, nobody's able to rain on his own parade better than Donald Trump. I mean, I would have loved a parade that celebrated the unity of the United States and our military. I mean, you served in the military and I didn't, and yet we both can feel pride in seeing our American service members. When I worked in the White House, I used to love to see how people in uniform would come and go and work with us on the civilian side, and that was a wonderful thing. We're the only country in the world that ever perfected that. And yet, it didn't work. And here's why. Because President Trump is now using the military on our people, the people of the United States, in a completely illegal, unconstitutional, unseemly way that undermines my ability to celebrate my military. I'm a taxpayer. I paid for that army. They protect me just like they protect you. And yet Donald Trump managed to take that away from me because he sent the Marines to an American city when there was no need for him to do so. The police had it under control. The state had it under control. He was doing it to be provocative. He's dividing this country, and he's hurting the military because 50 states had protests against him yesterday. 50. All 50 states. Everybody should have been watching that parade with pride. Instead, the president managed to even screw that up so that now we have people marching in the streets of America against him, against his use of the military in an American city.
Tim, there have been estimates anywhere from $35 to $40 million of the cost of that. Some Democrats have said that might be money that was better spent on veterans benefits or, in some other way. You're also, having the Army work on its birthday as well, too, in a very big way. Are those legitimate concerns, or are people just throwing sour grapes at this because they don't like the president and they will, criticize things he does like?
Yeah, look, I'm gonna keep a more positive tone to this. I do think there's some legitimacy. I think it's healthy when lawmakers ask questions about how we spend money. That's completely okay. But I'll tell you a quick story. I was sitting in a restaurant in D.C. I saw these young soldiers come in last week. They were so proud and so excited that they had an opportunity to really put on display their service to the country in their nation's capital, and it was a really heartfelt moment. And I think a lot of that translated. I think the American people got to see that. And look, also the Army uses it as a recruiting tool. If you were there, we saw a lot of the technologies and a lot of the coolness behind serving in the Army. The Army absolutely uses it as a recruiting tool. And I watched it on TV. I wasn't physically there, but I was very proud, even as a Marine, to see our young soldiers marching down the street. And there was so much pride and so much, I thought it was very jubilant time here in D.C. to see those young soldiers.
Yeah. By the way, the 250th birthday of the Navy is in October. The Marines' birthday is in November.
That's right.
So I'm guessing the Marines and the Navy are probably going to want equal time.
No. Look, the Marines are at work. The Marines are going to be out working, and I do want to say real quick, I think it's fascinating that even on the Army's birthday, we've still found a way to talk about the United States Marine Corps. Super important. Yeah.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for joining us this morning. We'll continue our conversation.